Yeah, why not? Why not? Why the hell not do an insomnia stream when you're tired as shit and you're rubbing your peen? Why not fuck around for an hour and find the fuck out what is going to happen? Why not? Why not? Why not do it for an hour and see what the fuck gonna happen? We're gonna mute this thing. Yeah, let's do it. I'm up. Yeah, I'm up. What's up? I'm just gonna talk in the void until somebody says something. Just watching for comments. Let's see if I can watch them on this dashboard. That might be easier, but of course I can't. So you gotta watch for them on this dashboard. So if you're watching and you're not me, making sure the damn event starts up. So what are we gonna do tonight? I think we're just gonna talk into the void and see what happens. I got an hour to kill. What the hell? So this happens a lot. These conflicts. You hear a lot on the left. Let's just start here. So I've had this one with actually an otherwise decent person or somebody that's relatively neutral on the old Twitter machine. So I kind of have to tell you my stance. Um, I think epistemology is first off overrated. The standpoint epistemology is kind of misused in a pretty inappropriate way. I'm gonna bully this Twitter user for a minute. You won't do it. To the point where it's like, yeah, this is gonna get pointless if I continue this, so I'm just gonna back out. And I don't normally do that, but when you like one of the people involved, like it's like, nah, this is pointless. But what it boils down to is, um, I guess identity supremacy. Because people deal with this stuff. With epistemology, people deal with this stuff in a lot of different ways. So I can see people being like, that makes me uncomfortable or this makes me uncomfortable. You know, that's that's just logical. That's just bound to happen at some point. But what you end up getting a lot of time is like, you didn't keep playing. I don't give a crap. I might play. Yeah. Huh. Do we have a viewer? No, we still don't have a viewer. You're still not doing it. Yeah. So what happens on an Insomnia stream? Like, you know, what happens is, so yeah, like I see that, but like, at the same time, like the thought process is like if two people have the same identity, it becomes a fight over who's like feeling it the shittiest. I'm just not. I don't see much value in that. I see that as a lot of opportunity to just like start playing moralism and like, the critical part is, uh, I think what you should be more doing is self-critical. Am I playing into capitalism's hands or not? You should be trying to think your way out of that in every situation. Ooh, you might want to get that. You mean what? You might want to. All right, you take care of that. I got the kids. That's my wife. Yeah. So, when the subject of epistemology, let's go ahead and handle that particular field. I mean, you can if you need to. If you feel you need to, go, because it might be beneficial to have them look at it. Sorry, family business late at night. You know. Yeah, sorry. You know what? Viewers love dead air. Uh, Now I'm trying to bully True to come on. At least I'm having a conversation. Shit. All right. Anyway, moving on. For when you discover this video later and go like, "What the fuck is this nonsense?" What you have, right? What you have with epistemology. In this case, it would be called standpoint epistemology. Epistemology is like how you know shit. It's how you verify how what you think is true, justified, or not. So with standpoint epistemology, the theory goes that if you're in whatever X conditions are, right? Whatever X conditions are about your existence, i.e., these are typically speaking identity or specific interactions. In standpoint epistemology, that's supposed to be alone is taken at face value. What's the problem with that, right? What's the harm in that? It would be easy enough to say, like, well, you only know what happens. Okay, honey, I love you. So with epistemology, right? If you take standpoint epistemology, so the theory where it goes, whatever your identity groups are, your geographic location, income, you have certain set of experience, which is entirely true, and anybody could tell you that, right? That's not really a revolutionary thing. That's just kind of a thing, right? Well, under the modes of epistemology, or standpoint epistemology, the next step is that the evidence you receive, I told you this was an Insomnia stream, the evidence that you receive as a result of that feedback, what your senses take in, what your emotional experiences, and so on, right? What you absorb from those situations is considered valid knowledge. And for the most part, again, this isn't really revolutionary. What do you think an eyewitness is, right? What do you think an eyewitness account is? That's just epistemology, standpoint epistemology, excuse me. Again, I'm tired and I might be. Orange juice TN. Boom. Call out. But it looks like you're watching now, so it doesn't matter. Unless you're not watching. If you're watching, leave a comment on Twitch that says, Dan, you suck. That way I can thank you for it. And I feel justified in giving you a shout out next show. Doing another round of follower boost. You know, make it worth my time too, comrade. This is a mutual exchange of voluntarism. So moving on with standpoint epistemology, right? Nothing's revolutionary here. Your firsthand eyewitness accounts are standpoint epistemology. This is what the subjective monad experienced as a result of it. Even if it's not entirely true, the experience itself is still true because the phenomena may cause the subject to suffer something that would not be materially real, but it was certainly real in the sense that it was subjectively experienced, right? Um, the classic example of that is some sort of drug-induced delusion. The first-hand observer, i.e., the person who's suffering the delusion, is going to experience that in a very real way, and that's what it did to them, right? So that way you can make an informed analysis based on that first-hand evidence. Again, I can't stress it enough. None of this is revolutionary. It's not. It's certainly not. We wouldn't. in most circumstances, think it was even invalid. But standpoint epistemology does have a negative side of things, right? This is obvious. The first mode, which doesn't come up very often, is what if the first-hand eyewitness is intentionally falsifying the data, right? And you see conservatives overblow this, to my mind, in terms of celebrity. Only one has actually had false accusations levied, but the false accusation is a weaponized version of standpoint epistemology. That's the obvious one. That's the one everybody can see, right? You can use that. You can just lie about what you saw. Somebody else gets in trouble, and so on. You do this a lot if you're trying to avoid trouble and you're trying to lie to your boss, for example, which I don't know if that's immoral. I don't know what the circumstances that you would need to do that are in the specific instance. Sometimes it probably is. Sometimes it probably isn't. If I'm going to be very valid. Wow, 3 viewers. Holy shit. This is not. Last night's show was the big one, man. The Insomnia stream, that's where like, oh, Dan's going to get crazy when canceling. That's what's happening. All right. So obviously, again, weaponized epistemology can absolutely exist. If you take the case of Sean Hannity, sexual harassment accuser, right? That's a weaponized standpoint epistemology that's obviously false. If you were to take Bill Cosby's accusers, right? That's true. Yeah, the Epstein accusers, they're definitely not lying, right? So standpoint epistemology has valid and invalid modes. Not like, again, nothing revolutionary about this, and this really shouldn't be outside of the realm of thought, right? But then you can run into this situation, and you've seen it because it's taken forms that are very, very public. This standpoint epistemology, right? One of them would be the use of believe all women, right? And we've seen how that can backfire. If you're familiar with the case of Ms. Tara Reid, who probably isn't lying, i.e., her standpoint epistemologically sourced knowledge, very, very real, very, very valid, and she was fucking ignored. If How do I want to articulate this nicely? Right? You can weaponize it at that stage by describing something very, very real, but manipulating the way you describe it into such a way that you overblow the nature of the problem, the underlying nature of the problem, and you can cause harm. Right? As people love to worry about harm and happiness and trauma and care and all this shit. You can actually use that weaponized against. A good case of that is honestly, this, bear with me here, people. If you see a white person who has actually been the victim of a crime from somebody of another race, they have an option to articulate that firsthand epistemologically, the firsthand epistemology that they have a way to take that knowledge. Yo, nitrous power, what's up? They have a way to take that in a very sanguine route, right? And we'll take the phrase, we'll take the crime of assault, which is something like if it's not provoked, is you can generally commit assault out of self-defense, but you can't commit it on offense. If you describe the assault as this guy assaulted me and that was wrong, right? I want something done about that. That's really not that shocking, right? That's not really how that ends up going, is it? It ends up taking a worse, more perverse form that all blacks are inherently violent, right? When you just got in a fight with one guy, that it's debatable whether or not you provoked it. And of course, the whites love to do that shit in America. But let's say, for the sake of argument, right? A white person just minding their own business, black guy just beats the shit out of him. Just again, sake of argument entirely. The argument doesn't hold that all blacks are violent, or black men are dangerous, or black women are dangerous, or whatever, right? Whoever the perp is. It doesn't hold up for the entire group, but that's often how white people frame it when they hear one instance of it. So that standpoint epistemology turned on its head, and instead of taking the validity of the account, right, that the crime was committed, that there is a perpetrator, it's then weaponized against an entire group of people. Another way this happens, and you often see this in the Jewish community of the current time, in which, again, I am part. I am one of the 2 Jews on the podcast. We always like to joke. That is essentially criticism of Israel is inherently anti-Semitic because I live in Israel and I know the terror that is caused by Hamas rockets. Well, this is another one of those fucking things where if we actually start parsing it, That really doesn't hold up, honestly. And let's say, for the sake of argument, again, Hamas has detonated an explosive munition in the relative vicinity of this person. And it was close enough that it didn't kill them, so they could report on it, but it did break windows and shit around them, right? They got the unlucky hit, it smashed into something, and it did the explosion, popped their windows. That's a terrifying event. Mind you, comically enough, if we start there, and we were to look at Israeli munitions detonated in Palestine, which do cause a lot of deaths and cause a lot of people to witness those deaths, and the same kind of structural damage happens: houses collapse, windows shatter, loud noises occur, etc. It's interesting to start that prima facie, that standpoint epistemology is often overlooked, right? Not now, but for how many years? 50, 60, 70? Yeah, so we've just overlooked that, right? So their firsthand account doesn't fucking matter. They're liars, they're terrorists, whatever. That's been the standard, right? So let's move on, all right? So again, we're going to take our Israeli victim, who may, or for our purposes, is an Israeli Jew. They then, they report on that Hamas has fired this rocket to terrify the shit out of me. Okay, you're right. That's terrifying. Then they will use that as that standpoint epistemology. They will use that position that they were scared by this Hamas rocket to then justify the return fire, right? And generally speaking, a Hamas rocket is actually the second. It is return fire. It is expected to be a deterrent, or at least a show of solidarity. They don't provoke the beast. The beast of Israel is coming for them no matter what, because that's an extension of American power. But that's a whole fucking other thing we've covered. Oh, listen, man, I'm an American Jew and I've grown up in the shadow of this. So, fortunately, I guess, I was not raised in a very big Jewish household. We were trying to hide the fact that we were Jews for the most part and kind of launder that away into whiteness. So it gives me an outside observer's perspective, functionally. And a fair-minded outside observer can empathize with the victim of Hamas return fire, but demand the same level of empathy be given to the Palestinian victims of Israeli aggression. And the problem is, in most things in liberalism, we expect action-reaction, as if the systemic machinery is reacting without any human intervention. So if we follow the logic of liberals, there's no reason Hamas wouldn't fire back. That's the way the machine works. It does not make it any less terrifying for the victims in the immediate area of the Hamas return fire, but the proportional response that Hamas can deliver is way lower than Israel's. So the first-hand victims of Israeli aggression are Palestinians, and from my understanding of it, actually, also dark-skinned Jews, which is horrifically uncomfortable as a Jew, to be like, basically Israel is launching a war on all non-white Jews, but that's what the evidence points at, right? Is a proper ethnic scrubbing. What do they call it? Mowing the lawn, the hideous formation, right? So the victims of that, we tend to ignore their first-hand account, but we accept the first-hand account of Israeli Jews, right? Especially white Israeli Jews. And what that then transforms into is any criticism of Israel is inherent anti-Semitism or self-hating Jews mouthing off. When most of the anti-Semitism I have experienced in my life is directly proportional to Israeli aggression. I don't get to back away from that. It's mostly a case of European ancestry conservatives causing the right-wing rhetoric. It 100% is. If you look at the Knesset, it's absolutely that. And any Palestinian collaborators in that legislative body. Yeah, most certainly. 100%. I mean, you've nailed it, nitrous power. It 100% is that, exactly. That's the mechanism going on there, because that benefits wealthy Jews in America, that benefits wealthy Jews in Israel, that benefits the Jewish middle class in Israel. the white Jewish middle class in Israel. I suppose maybe white might not be the proper term, but fair-skinned and white passing would be, right? In the end, it's just the same thing as the states. Yeah, it is. Well, Israel's an extension of the state. The meme among this is funny. The meme among American Nazis and a lot of other countries' Nazis is that Israel controls those states, and it is the exact opposite. The United States almost exclusively weaponizes Israel to its own ends, and Israel participates in that because not only they get the benefit of money and free, essentially money and free armaments, right? They're getting this stuff for free, but it allows their conservatives to pursue their own ends. Yeah. No, we're on agreement here. And but I'm going down this logic train to rag on standpoint epistemology and its misuses because it is important to note again that we tend to favor standpoints that we think we mirror, right? So while I don't mirror the ruling class's standpoint, members of the ruling class certainly do, and they're making those decisions and using our proletariat for that purpose. And some of our proletarians are reluctantly agreeing to that, and some of our proletariat are very much in love with the idea, and certainly among our middle class as well. And there's a large section of very loud um, American Jews who are still very vocally supporting it. Now, as you get younger, as you get closer to my age and even younger than that, that fades away. But there are some really, really conservative, you'll have these left professing 18-year-olds. I'm an anarchist, but I'm also entirely for the defense of Israel and against global anti-Semitism. Well, if you're not willing to confront why there is global anti-Semitism now, then you're not really against anti-Semitism. You're actually for anti-Semites, right? You're empowering anti-Semites because the idea is that Jews are a surplus population that can be used for this purpose. Especially, working class Jews can be used to these ends to commit these crimes against the Palestinians, who are workers. They're fellow workers. There should be solidarity there among nations. If we had an international, that could be fostered and that could be weaponized against the ruling classes, but we don't have that. So instead, what we have are a fragmented opposition, and some members of the proletariat are more than gleefully participating in that destruction, right? Completely in the face of the standpoint epistemology of those first, those suffering in Palestine, those poor Palestinians dealing with that. And they'll argue, well, the Palestinians aren't all saints. Yeah, no shit, they're people. I can imagine some of them are dickbags, but I can't think of a situation where anybody acting honestly and earnestly in a serious manner would make the claim that because somebody's a dickbag and cuts you off in traffic, they need to have 50 to 60 of their ethnic members and religious members destroyed by a single mortar shell and then another 1,199 mortar shells that follow and the fatalities that come from that. The thing that separated Israel from the Arab dictatorships was the case of Western tactics and a more educated populace. Yeah, well, that's America's backing. Sure, that's right. The Arab countries had almost no Western training. We trained Iran and Iraq, but we didn't arm them the same way we armed Israel, nowhere near it. Whilst Israel used Western military tactics to win the wars it fought. Western armaments, too. The critical part is Western armaments when people had essentially older Western surplus to fight those same wars. So more modern tech versus, at the time, more up-to-date tech versus less up-to-date tech. And notably, Israel was also trained on how to maintain that technology and even develop it themselves, whereas the Arab states have always been getting the surplus slosh from the major military powers. The states have Israel as a puppet. 100% correct, like the Arabs, but the Israelis use the things the Americans gave them to their advantage. 100% correct. Israelis are no different from us. They just managed to get their country right. I am always loath to call it. I'm not a big fan of the Arab monarchies or Arab dictatorships, but I'm hesitant to call their countries wrong in some sort of fashion. Definitely, if you want to use the term underprivileged compared to America, I'm hesitant. Now, if you're from an Arab country and you want to say we're getting it wrong, that's your business, not mine. Um, I'm hesitant to make that kind of a claim because I don't think those formations are necessarily, how do I put it best? I don't think they're what I would want, obviously, but I am coming at it from a Western body of knowledge. Uh, that's, and I would like to see their working class liberated in the same way that ours needs to be, or also go through their own struggle for emancipation and be victorious. Might be the better way to state that because they don't different material conditions, different rules for revolution, what have you. Um, I don't know if I'd call them wrong. Originally, the U.S. had a testy relationship with Israel, and the relationship didn't get sweet until the 70s. The Israelis actually had a weapons shortage until they decided to make their own. Our CIA was backing them. The our okay. This is always fascinating because the public persona of the U.S. state is vastly different than what is there. How do I? This is getting weird with U.S. history. So the U.S. is actually two separate states. There's the public U.S. government. Also, when I meant right, I meant economically stable and much more prosperous. That's definitely the CIA. So what we have is the public-facing government that's meant to control our civilian populace, and then we have a deep state that doesn't change through the regime and was formally instituted pre-World War II. They had experimented with it in the late 1800s, but it was cemented in that pre-World War II, World War II period with our intelligentsia agencies. And that is the actual governing body. Post-war, we got a big boon when we took as many Nazi assets as we possibly could out of Europe and dumped them in South America, where they were in our backyard, if you will, and we could contact them pretty freely and mobilize them with essentially arms and can do a whole lot of shit. And one of the side effects of that is our public facing governments often do have testy relationship with these states, but our deep state, our actual foreign relations, is a very stable entity. So politically speaking, that's the real might of capitalism. They have this intelligentsia, and they actually do share a lot of that with conservative, at the very least, conservative regimes, if not downright dictatorial and authoritarian regimes. That is the preference, and that is because our capitalists absorbed that Nazi ideology. Um, yeah, I wonder how much of that is U.S. intervention. I don't want to overblow the U.S.'s power, but I also don't want to undersell it. And I think a lot of the problems there are that we do back a lot of instability, and where we can have stability in our terms, we back a lot of stability. From Tanzania, the Israelis were the ones, the Americans really. Now I'm curious what you have to say. This is kind of cool. I'm having a discussion with Nitrous Power on Twitch.tv, and yeah, they were. Well, part of that was this gets really interesting. But the Nazis had instituted the final solution, right? And the final solution, the way Americans teach it, and I think a lot of the world teaches it now, is basically the Nazis were there, they were really mean to Jews, and then out of nowhere they decided to start gassing them, which is not at all what happened. The Nazis had a lot of programs to try to diminish the Jewish existence, like a lot. That's why the Holocaust was formally termed the final solution. If you were to extend the name, ideologically speaking, the name would be the final solution to the Jewish question and the question of undesirable populations. That's the German ideology on that particular issue, the Nazi German ideology. Let me be very specific. Not all Germans subscribe to that, but enough Germans participated in it from the era. And one of those particular solutions was the exportation of the surplus Jewish population outside of Germany. So when that shifts to America, the goal is to concentrate the Jewish population, funny enough, as if it were in a concentration camp again, to get it out of the world's way. They decided to do that and execute that, and that's a decision primarily between the U.S. and England. And I say England, not the U.K., because it's not like there's other countries in the U.K. really had a say in it. This is Churchill and this is Truman. They dump them in what was called Palestine, and they inflict them upon that. But what they give them as they're dumping them there functionally, right, is they're encouraging them to go. They didn't formally just round them up and dump them. Of course, it was encouragement to go there with money and military might. Um, they teach them the means to conduct an open air prison, and that's what Palestine is meant to be. And they give them carte blanche permission to expand their territory, because from the U.S.'s standpoint, that is all Israel. Even the sympathetic to the Palestinian governments, of which there are very, very few, they give them permission to engage in this behavior. They write it off, they fund it, and so on. Well, this got weird. All right, so yeah.
What are you guys doing in here?
Oh well, right now I'm talking about Israel, but I'm talking about standpoint. I originally
You
started with
like
standpoint epistemology.
like
Truth on.
Milton William Cooper posting and then like
Yeah,
saying final solution.
yeah. Well, no, you got into the point where I talked. Well, last night I didn't talk about it. I think America genuinely wants the Tanzanians to be an actually successful country. Israel, meanwhile, doesn't care as much as they used to anymore. Israel doesn't need the U.S. as much as it did anymore, and it is still hostile to our left. They like conservatives. The UAE, though, they really want us dead. Same with the French. Fact. Yeah, you've got a whole ball of shit. I'm not an expert in tunes. Fuck, I'm so tired. I'm gonna fuck this up. Tunisian politics. There we go. I don't want to fuck it up. I don't want to be disrespectful to a comrade, but yeah, all those states suck. 2016 coup plus the French and Abir Misai. Yeah, I think they want you to exist, but if they want you to exist, that's bad news for you. That's almost worse than a revolution because that means they want you to have a dictator because capitalism loves it. I'm talking to chat, by the way. True, how you doing?
Doing good. I got it to work where I can I put the chat on the phone.
There you go. Badass.
Maybe we'll do it like this sometimes.
Yeah.
The old Twitch. If this is where people are gonna hang out, fuck it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, fucking A. Just don't bombard the chat, man. Let them talk. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear you verbally. They're going to hear you verbally. Let's verbalize.
As verbal as I can get. I don't know if you guys are having what we're having up there, what we're having down here. It's fucking full on white boy summer right now. Fourth of
Yeah.
July weekend just turned white boy summer up to fucking 11 down here.
Oh, yeah. We got the cannons and shit.
It's fucking it's the summer of revenge.
Yeah. Let's calm
Reve-
down.
Revenge on not being able to go outside.
Yeah. Yeah. But all right. So, a standpoint epistemology, right? So, again, the UAE bribed all officials other than Kai Saeed, who won the election, then sent a document to the U.S. asking for an opinion about it. They never got a message back. I bet they did. If I had to guess, they did from the CIA. That deep state shit. And that's really what the deep state is. It's all our intelligentsia services and our Nazi assets. It is a stagnant power within the United States, and it's very solid. It's almost unchallengeable. In 2008, the U.S. ambassador called D.C. and told them about the torture Ben Ali was. Huh. So I'm learning shit about politics I would have never fucking known because I live in this shithole. I would have had to guesswork it back, starting with the phrase, was America involved? And the government decided to condemn Ben Ali. Was Ben Ali interested in nationalizing anything, would be my question. Then the Americans publicly supported the revolution. There's definitely,
Yeah, because they have to have a fall guy, but it makes you wonder. Like
yeah,
they probably picked the reddest fucking fall guy they could find.
he
Oh,
ran
yeah, there you go,
he
there you
ran a
go,
mafia police state.
there you go.
What did he want to nationalize then? That's my real question because like that is 100% what the US backs. Like that's the US's favorite thing. So if Ben Ali's running that, oh, he wanted to nationalize every. There we go. See, you got to it. He's a
Yeah, yeah.
horrible authoritarian, but he wants to nationalize everything that cuts into capitalism's pockets. He got to go. Yep.
That's here you go. This is the dude.
Bingo. Found
He
it.
did the stuff.
Bingo. Now we care he did the torture because Americans are pigs. Um, our proles, not all of them are pigs. Very few of our middle class aren't pigs. Thing is, though, it was less of a U.S. coup in 1987, more of a UAE French-Israeli one. Most certainly, we have to have ways to launder it. A lot of the conspiracy theories that blame Israel as the root cause, if you just switch the word to America, you pretty much have it right. Like, then it's not conspiratorial thinking; it's just fact. You know what I'm saying? True?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think you have to. I don't know. I don't think you have to make the money okay. Like
yeah,
a lot of discussions I get in lately about like what this entity has and hasn't done. A lot of times I feel like people are kind of trying to be like, well, if I was in that situation, or if I was just
yeah,
born into a freaking skull and bones family or whatever, like I would want to like steward the success of the country in a way. I'm like, I don't even really want to go there anymore because I feel like that the whole discussion is about making the money okay. The whole
yeah,
discussion is about being like, well, actually, if I get rich someday, I understand how I'm going to act. It's the
yeah.
Fry thing from it's the Fry thing from Futurama. People like me better watch out.
None
Like,
of that seems surprising, chat. None of that seems surprising to me at all. Like the minute you're saying that, like that, heard that story before. Yeah, we Americans and our capitalists are bad. Literally the cause of all the world's problems.
yeah,
You
I
know.
don't, I mean, people will be like, you can't just say that, or why does everybody keep saying that? And I'm tired of hearing it. And I'm like, well, these are all everything that you're saying is just reporting on the number of times that you're hearing people go around and say that they don't think capitalism is working.
Yeah. Oh,
Like you
capitalism
think
works
this,
great.
you think that it's an own to say that you see that spray painted everywhere. Like,
Guiba.
ask the Romans what it means when you start seeing some shit spray painted everywhere. Like,
What did Bourguiba try to nationalize, or what was he weak on? Because he was a dictatorship before. See, I kind of like these Insomnia streams. He was kind of himself. I have to read up on that one and see. That's gonna be fast. I gotta write that down. Bourguiba. I'm dropping that
yeah,
in
because
chat.
it's exactly as you say. It's the kind of issue that is complex. So when you think about it, your inherent understanding of this entity as the supreme fucking old one,
Yeah,
like you assume that all the dirty shit went down. But
yeah.
it's still interesting to know the specifics of it. Like,
Yeah, it's one of those things you can work out pretty quickly the Americans have their hand in it, but then like
yeah,
you're still always a little bit mortified at what the specific hand of it did.
yeah.
You
Like
know.
the South America shit. I can't even read the details of the South America shit. I just like when people are talking about the South America shit, I'm just like, yep.
Yeah.
I assume that they chop people into bits. Let's not talk about who, like the South America shit was BAD. The South America shit is demon shit.
Yeah.
But like I think I heard like maybe 10% of the details once and I just like tuned it out. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god."
No. You know what, Chad, I gotta push back on someone when you say he's a statist corporatist. You just mean capitalist then. That's all you mean there. Like yeah, we use too many terms on the left to describe really simple shit to try to sound smarter. I do it too. But
Well, I
yeah,
think
it's just
it's
a
a
capitalist.
reaction. It's a reaction to living in a town or having a job with people where you're like you try to explain it on the basis level and they're just like, "Well, I feel uncomfortable. I feel like you're going to make a video game I want not come out with this talk." Like,
Yeah.
it's just we start to have this relationship with maybe I can explain it better because a lot of these people seem smart enough to like grasp this shit.
No.
No, it
When other words are important, we should use the other words. When it comes to like if you're like a statist corporatist, it's yeah, it's just a capitalist. He's pro capitalism. All right, we got it. What's the move that and then like those dumbasses will always be like, oh, y'all, you're blaming capitalism for everything. Well, it's the thing that's in charge. I mean, what do you want me to say?
yeah.
If you keep bitching about your gunshot wound and the symptoms of your gunshot wound, right? But then when I talk about your gunshot wound, you get all offended. Like that's on you, man.
Like if we agreed tomorrow to not try to dismantle and replace it and instead just like work on it, we would still be critiquing the shit out of it. Even if we were just working on it to save it, we would still be kicking its little dick as hard as we fucking could if we gave a
Yeah,
shit. If we gave a shit, right?
yeah.
So
No,
what's the difference?
well, right. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Yeah, but Bourguiba isn't really like other dictators. He's different. Oh, they all have their own little flavor of crazy. You know, they all have their own little taste, their own little quirks. Yeah, that's what makes them fun. That's what makes talking about dictators any kind of interesting thing. Because otherwise, they just all be, you could just all call them dirtballs and you'd be right. You know.
Hmm.
But like, what's the difference between, normally you see in Arab dictatorships the idea of a military controlling everything. Post feudalism, they usually call for weapons. Okay, I mean I'm down to hear it. Obviously, I'm rocking it. Drew's rocking it.
Yeah,
We're getting weird.
I don't care. Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, constantly buy weapons. Okay, their leaders usually are educated in military schools. Yeah. Let's go on. I'm gonna let this go on because I don't want to read more of it. But I want to get back to epistemology because, like, the first thing, again, recapping that really quick. Um, what's the problem? Like, you can bear false witness, right? That's why the Bible even says explicitly, because that's the oldest way to weaponize epistemology, standpoint epistemology. Um, you can, the first-hand account can be so kind of muddled because of how chaotic the situation was that it's not useful. And that's not blaming the first-hand witness, but like it can just be fucked up so badly that like the first-hand witness can't accurately describe it. We went to civilian schools. In Paris and became a lawyer. He then started reading things such as the Turk and French philosophers. Okay. I again keep going, but I want to recap on this. So I want to bring this back around to my point, right? And epistemology can get weaponized to where you're favoring one body of first-hand knowledge over the other. This is the Israeli-Palestinian case. He also ended up reading Tunisian philosophers who revolutionized Tunisian society to this very day. Okay. Um, and then you can internalize this idea of standpoint epistemology uber alles. And if you've seen my wall, that's what's going on there, right? So you modify a joke from The Simpsons to capitalism like alcoholism is cause of and solution to all life's problems. So people, what happens there is there's two people. One I respect, so I do want to go a little more delicately because this isn't just like I don't think one of them's being dishonest. The other one I don't know very well, so I have to presume honesty, right? I can't prove they're being dishonest. That would be unfair. But they're both, I'm sure you're running something like this, true, but they're both alcoholics. Another example that I had a visit to Tunis in 1959, where I was harassed per what the U.S. could do for normally expect weapon imports, right? Um, yeah, that's what I would expect. Okay. So, the joke's modified. It's not a very good joke. I admit that. But, I'm not. Also, it's not so egregious that I would want to take it down like I have other shit, right? So then you
I don't
have
know.
an individual show up and, like, this is dead wrong. Okay, you think it's dead wrong. Cool. You know, I don't know what to tell
What?
you. And then it's on the
I'm
basis of
I'm
my alcoholism. Well, it's not then I post, I'm like, listen, you have to understand, I just don't see the problem like you do. These two actors see it from the liberal perspective. If the standpoint epistemology they're employing is a type of liberalism in that uh, there's some sort of base trauma. I internalize the nature of the addiction, and then um, I'm the guilty party responsible. I can't remember now if they said they overcame it or not, but if I've overcome it, it's out of my victory, and that trauma is real to me, so I can't subject myself to any criticism of that, which is all well and good, or any kind of joking about it because it's too serious to me, which is all well and good and fine. But the problem is, if you've internalized it that far, then I actually have no responsibility in the situation, unfortunately. The situation's entirely on you to mute the tweet. Or mute me, frankly. Fuck it, mute me. Right? That's on. Unfortunately, if you take it that far to the individual, you can't then foist it on society because you're internalizing the problem too far. You fell into liberalism's trap. There's nothing that's not. In fact, it's not even just base liberalism. That's a type of conservative attitude where it offends me to such a great deal that you can't do it. Right? That's why, the gays can't have pride if you're conservative enough. That's why I won't go to a gay wedding. That's the idea, right? I'm so offended you can't do it. No.
It has like a tone issue, but like it's not for me. I enjoy the metaphor, but I
Yeah.
enjoy a lot of horrible shit. Like
Yeah, you can't
I've
be an
been
introvert without it.
I've been lucky enough to have lived not a trauma-free or like traumaless life, but a life that had exactly the right traumas in exactly the right order at exactly
Yeah.
the right times to where like I don't know, if somebody says something that fucking black, like I know it's written as a joke, but
Yeah.
for me I'm more smirking at it like, "Ugh, God." Like, cuz it never took permanently with me, but I did live a few years with something like at least a glimpse of what it would be like if that shit ran your day.
Yeah.
Like, I had a couple really, really bleak years, but I still think, I don't know, my experience, it feels like it pales in comparison. It's like you say, the use of the standpoint thing, it completely obliterates anything I might have learned in 2 years, hammering jack and driving forklifts when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
It obliterates it in the face of the inescapable nature of the reality of like what we now classify this shit as. That if you spend the majority of your life fucking dunking them from sunrise to sunset and you don't feel right unless you are, like, we have decided, okay, we're going to get you some fucking help. And you and I are both hugely in support of that. But at the same time, we also, like, in that incredibly dark situation, in that incredible confrontation of just the death of everything, we like to be able to point at it and say, isn't this kind of like the rich motherfuckers guzzling down all the money and all the resources for nothing? Like,
Yeah.
we kind of like to be able to point over there and say that. For me, it doesn't detract from anybody's experience. But then, like you say, I have
Well,
spent a whole lot of time trying to armor up against the fucking, oh, I can't do this, or oh, I can't think that.
yeah. So anyway, then I post where I come at the like what defines addiction then. Again, I'm a metaphysicist,
Yeah,
so I'm actually looking at what is the critical part of addiction. What is addiction? And what's really going on is you have something that if they were acquiring money, they would be Bill Gates. They're not. They're
yeah,
acquiring alcohol for their system. They're alcoholics. We criminalize the consumption here. We celebrate it over there.
yeah.
Bourguiba being a benevolent dictator because he focused on the civilian side of things. Um, I don't. I'll be honest, Chad. I don't know how to take that one. I don't. He may have had like we had things where people would consider it benevolent, but a lot of it was trying to shore up power. FDR was actually a great example. Like the reason they made those decisions was to try to shore up the local power base, which in our case is a massive fucking continental U.S. plus our territories. Um, so I don't know if benevolent is the word I would use, but certainly one that had a positive material impact on people. Oh yeah, you take your time. Like I said, I'm going to address both conversations at once. I'm tired and I'm going to multitask here because it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
Just for me as a pervert.
we'll hang out on Twitch more if people like this format. I mean, shit.
Oh yeah. Well, fuck, they're teaching me. I'm willing to hang out here if they're willing to keep teaching me. I don't know this shit.
we'll we'll play video games on this motherfucker. We don't care.
Well, no, I'll just listen to what I'll just sit and let you. Yeah, you tell me. It sounds like more dismissive because I'm being casual right now. But like honestly, like if you're gonna teach me shit I didn't know, go for it.
Yeah.
How else am I gonna learn it? I'm not gonna fucking. I'm an American. We don't learn shit except by talking.
Yeah. We ain't.
He's mainly educating his people. Tanzania actually ended up having a better quality of life than Libya and the Gulf states. Yeah, I don't disagree that the material effects of any one leader could actually lead to a beneficial situation if that's the focus on a strengthening of the nation state, as the dictators want to do. Then that's what's going to happen. Most of them, you're right though, don't. So that is odd. I'll give you that. Sure. The Americans
What?
themselves, they didn't intervene. He's doing something for them though. That's the critical part. That's the part that's always missing. He gave them something. He's laundering something for them. He's giving them something because the Americans not intervening, the only way that would happen is if they have nothing of value. That's ultimately it. We think of things in cold hard black and red, baby. Red ink and black ink. It's all profit loss. We're not very good at just objectively being people. Um,
I'm saying it. You
it
know,
honestly, it
I
sounds
do,
like.
I do, I
Hold
like
on.
that metaphor. I like that metaphor to compare it to an incurable, horrific disease that destroys your life. Because they're not happy. Like, no matter how good or successful anybody is at building the perfect money country,
Yeah.
they're not happy. The rich people there aren't happy, and the poor people that are getting picked on by the rich people definitely aren't happy. Like, it's that. That's what makes you flash to it in your mind. Like, the worst drunk you've ever been or the worst drunk that you know. You're just looking at like this person like, "Oh my god, you're going to do this again."
I-
Like
if the relationship was something where we're giving them consumer goods, then it sounds like it was trade, which would be hard red black ink. That's my pushback there. It's not. It's a soft pushback, but it sounds like it was trade deals for American corporations. Now I may be wrong on that, but just from the way you're speaking, that's what it sounds like, chat. Um, it doesn't have to be a military benefit, but military benefit is preferred if it's opening up the doors to American capital. Ah,
like there's industry angles on this shit. Like, okay, there's a bunch of factories down
aha,
here and there's a bunch of Lear shit down here.
there it
And
is.
there are some older dudes that hang out down here that are in like their 50s now. Some of them are still engineers at these plants and shit. But a lot of these guys have worked at Lear. And if they start describing like stuff that Lear got to build to the military, like their eyes go all glassy and they're like full of the fantasy dreams of a boy.
Yeah,
And they're telling you about all this shit that, you know, undoubtedly was sold, if not to Israel, to some fucking place where we export this shit to. And I think if you think about from that angle, like these guys love making this shit.
yeah.
Like they didn't care who it was gonna fucking kill.
No, of course
They
they don't.
loved it. They were
Yeah,
getting paid more than they'd ever got paid in their lives to make fucking airplanes with guns on them and shit. Like we all used to draw in our little notebooks when we were little fash American children because we didn't know any fucking better. Right? Like this
yeah.
is making this shit, even if you get far away from it in your life, like you can probably remember being like 6 or 7 and watching the Blue Angels at the cheesy ass air show your town had and thinking, "Oh yeah,"
Fuck
you
yeah.
know, like this shit, man.
Yeah, I never
It's
went
it
to. I never been to an air show in my life. I'm thankful for that.
really.
Yeah, never have.
Oh, they're fucking just amazing because it's incredibly dangerous.
Okay.
There's no
It
reason to do it.
and Chad hits on the point. U.S. Navy. It's about the U.S. Navy. Then that's yep. Okay, so that's the deal. That's how that goes. Plus, if you're looking to rebuild France, France being able to offload consumer goods to a captive market. Yep. Economic colonialism. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, thankfully it was beneficial. Let me put it like that. Thankfully it was beneficial to Tanzania. But yeah, I mean, if it's like if the idea is that we can isolate X and Y and you get to be protected from X and Y, then that's just gravy. That's the U.S. I like that you're trying to paint us as altruists almost, but we are not altruists. I'm an American.
Trying
I
to,
can 100%
I'm trying.
trust my standpoint here. We are not altruistic people. We are
I'm
savages.
trying. I'm trying to think what I still buy today in 2021, like that I still look to see if it's from fucking France. Like everybody knows you have to get the champagne that's from the Champagne region,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But I bet there's other products too that just ever since then have just been on lock. Like you just know or whatever. Like, oh, you know, you got to go to the fucking Ritzy store
Oh
uptown if you want the.
yeah. Hold on. I agree that America didn't intervene, but yeah, they had a good a military reason. Yeah, it was more beneficial to be hostile to these other states because they're functionally Tunisia is then trading off their some of their economic independence to France, so America gets to offset the cost of rebuilding France post-war, and they get to use get to use the allow the Sixth Fleet to be there. So yeah, that's what I mean. There's no altruism. America doesn't meanest people on the planet, just the absolute meanest people because our cruelty is tied to profit acquisition. It's not just even casual meanness where it's like somebody could have a bad day or there could just be a existing bad blood feud. Libya and Algeria themselves were prone to Nasir and Nasir despised bourgeois. Bourguiba. Bourguiba, I'm betting. Yeah, it's Bourguiba.
They
Yeah.
they they told us that they told us that Washington cut the Hessians' throats in fucking 0-degree weather
Yeah.
with all of his guys wrapped up in rags and covered in frostbite and shit, just crawling into tents at night on Christmas like fucking zombies and just like murdering the shit out of the fucking mercenaries. And they told us that shit about about this fucking holiday we're about to have.
Yeah.
They told us that shit when we were like 6.
Yep.
Like it was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And like I was like, "Oh my god, that's Rambo shit." When I was in
We're
first grade and I heard that shit.
we always make fun of Australia for being where England dumped its criminal population, but like when
The
you
most
get to the deep
successful
down,
criminals came here.
yeah, the
The
ones who were able
criminals
to
that were
not get
good at it.
caught. Yeah. The just the cruel fucking military monsters and the fucking savage criminals were sent here to acquire power. Like we're the criminals that weren't criminalized.
Hmm.
Drawing fighter just and hearing stuff like that as if it was cool.
Proud tradition that carries on to this day.
I never encountered that in my entire life. Yeah, that's America. I mean, again, we're violent people. Like
Yeah.
we are. Like if you were to give race theory any kind of a credence, whites, especially white Americans, are just the most vulgar, violent people when left to their own devices. We are cruel. I'll tell you what. Let me give you a little story. Right, I was in Germany in 2003, and I'm playing cards. This game called Torture, and the game of Torture is supposed to be like a silly, fun game. You live here too? Yeah, we're vulgar. We're awful people. You know. You know. Come on. You know how bad we are. You're here. You're with it. You're trapped in hell with us. You fucking come on. That's not. Never assume that we have a good motive because we never have a good motive. There's nothing altruistic we do in our bodies at all. Anything good America does is for gain. Oh, Louisiana. Really? I'm in Pennsylvania. It's shit. Um, but I'm playing this game of torture, right, with a couple of these German boys and my buddy from America, and we are lighting them up. They're like, "That's it, we fucking quit." I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, "You people play mean." Yeah, that's yep. You're welcome, Tunisia. You are welcome. That's what's going to happen
Strange
to every
shit.
country because we are that toxic as a fucking nation state. Our deep state is Nazis. Our actual structures of power are Nazis. We're bad.
In the fucking in the 80s there was like
Well, it's not
late
like the French are good, you know.
late 80s until like probably most of the 90s. There was like a genre of like film and video game that all it did really was just jack off to planes.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people have
Flight
seen like
simulator.
yeah, like
Yeah.
a lot of people have seen like the most famous like Top Gun or whatever. But
Yeah.
okay, there was a children's fantasy one called Iron Eagle that was like a whole fucking trilogy, okay, about this kid that basically has to be like an Ava pilot, but it's like jacking off to a fucking plane that somebody can build it, for the military. And like they always fantasize about all these air conflicts like between
Yeah.
fighters that as we know really didn't happen like a shitload. Like it was common enough for some kind of like little we're gonna shoot you type engagement, but it's not this shit that they made in these movies. And then the games, okay, Origin Systems that had originally done Wing Commander, a
Yeah.
primitive space simulator, okay, they had a series called Strike Commander, where the whole thing is that you were like freebooting with a fucking flag on your arm and hanging around in the Mid East and just with a realistic map of the Mid East, just like, oh, I got to go light some dudes up over Libya right fast because they flew in the wrong place. And I played all of this shit just like, yep, this is normal. Like, this is a normal premise for a video game. This is not part of an overarching culture to jack off to these expensive planes and
Yeah.
continue to drive this fucking death machine closer and closer to the chasm.
Yeah.
No, this is just, we have the best planes. This is awesome nerd shit. I'm gonna fucking equip this hard point with the fucking white phosphorus bombs.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be really careful about civilian targets. No, I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah. Now
It's a
again,
video game.
again, Chad, This is another one of those ones. Just because that had a materially good effect does not mean it was done for a good reason. You know, Americans
Like
don't do anything for a good, morally good reason at the very least.
that's what I keep coming back to. Like we want to critique like the way that all this stuff performed throughout
Yeah,
history, but I feel like that we always fall back into making any of this okay, making the money okay, like that all this was inevitably going to happen or whatever.
yeah,
Like some of it was.
by complete accident.
Some of it, yes, but we did not have to have like
No, that's
a
true. No, none of them do.
super powerful like credit finance speculation class like emerge as like a dark oligarchy pulsing at the heart. It didn't have to be exactly like this. My God.
No, it did.
Like,
But sure as fuck is. All right, so getting back to epistemology now, right? So here's the problem in these kind of fights because they're critical. I am adamant, right? So the presumption is that you're not, the this is a game of what I like to call first person triggered, right? So the first person trigger makes the assertion I'm X, which leaves the other person to either A, kowtow if they're not an equivalent identity, right? In my case, I have a severe drinking problem. I just have it under control currently, right? No, there's no rhyme or reason I couldn't slip off the wagon. There's a reason I don't pick up a beer is because if I pick up one beer, I'm picking up 30. Okay, that's it. That's the reality of it. I have not treated my body very well, and I have my own spiritual failings. Um, yeah, I mean, absolutely. One of rancid alcohol abuser, complete with the whole fucking emotional roller coaster, all the embarrassing shit, awfully awful things that come with that.
see, this is what I'm talking
So,
about. Like I wade around in this shit up to my waist, up to my neck at different points of my life, either with me or with people that I know and love.
yeah,
But at the same time, like I we're all gonna die, man, and I laugh at a lot of this that people don't laugh at,
yeah,
right? Like we're all just like those videos of the monkeys that ate the fermented fruit and they're like rolling down a hill. Nobody would ever like get depressed about. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
Like we're we're just as hilarious in that state as those monkeys, and I just don't value how judgmental this society is to a drunk enough, I guess. I
Yeah.
just don't value that enough. Like this guy is completely fucked up, but
Well,
because of chemical reasons, not because, like it's exactly like what the rich are doing. It's
yeah,
exactly like that. They're child fuckers now.
yeah,
One hundo. One hundo. They can
straight
all raise their
real.
hands. And it's I like the comparison to that sickness. Like
Yeah,
it's very hard for me to go straight to the y- you know uh I have to take this so seriously. Even now, as you described it, like the worst, like bottom point of your life, I was like, yeah,
yeah,
that's just how I am now. Like I don't know if I'm insensitive to people or if I'm just insensitive to hearing reports of how fucked people are under this system. I
yeah.
think it is a little from column A, a little from column B.
You know, all right. So with the epistemology game, it works like this, right? If you are, and I'm going to use the word trigger because that's what's happening, right? If you don't
Mm.
like that word usage, I'm sorry. That's what's happening. You're triggered. So you throw out your identity as a shield. Interstates. um, you throw that out as a shield, right? So you can levy this criticism and be like, you're doing it wrong. The problem is that you're presuming then that nobody else has that identity or everybody else with that identity agrees with you. This was my beef with the disability community for which I was canceled, and my beef with the Jewish community in America for which I was mega canceled. Okay.
You were canceled by all the wives.
I was
You were
oh
you
that's
were
the wife
canceled by
canceling.
all the wives.
I was canceled by the wives because one of them said something anti-Semitic and I called her a bitch.
Yeah, that was extremely
Fuck you.
cancelable.
No, fuck you. You can't use here's the thing. If you're trying to use somebody's identity, ethnicity, gender, what the fuck ever to justify genocide, you can go fuck yourself. I hope you die. I hope you fuck yourself with an iron spike and you bleed out from rupturing your fucking colon.
Well, they
Okay.
all they're so concerned, like they're so concerned, like they don't have any lever that they can reach out and move,
No.
except for I really wish that people didn't think so poorly of us for doing this genocide.
Yeah, well,
That's
that's
the
it. I want to be
only
left
thing.
alone to mass murder. That's what that canceling is.
Yes,
So again,
like that's
the
the
reasons I've been canceled,
only thing.
I can list the reasons I've been canceled. I know some of my management being sued by interstates. It's weird, but it's kind of like a good kind of weird. Um, Chat, define interstate so I can make sure I'm on board because I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm also very tired. So just throw me a definition. But I'm going to proceed with this because I want to get this out there, right? So the fight again, I have to start this over. God damn it! It becomes there's the shield of epistemology, standpoint epistemology. I was traumatized. There, go. You can't say this, right? Which again, I've already proven is empirically wrong because you've internalized the problem so far. Problem's on you. You are the one who has to curate then and avoid that content or stop seeing that content if that's what you're feared of. And victims hate being told that, right? This is not like an addict has an illegitimate reason. I'm blaming their problems on capitalism. They're blaming it on their own fucking failures. And I can tell you right now, it's not their own fucking failure because if they had applied that drinking problem to acquisition of money, they would be fucking Bill Gates and we'd find them laudable unless they turn into a base scammer like Martin Shkreli. But Martin Shkreli hasn't done anything different than Bill Gates. He's just an open piece of shit. Bill Gates closets his bullshit, right? Liberal
Yeah,
versus conservative.
that kid is like a murderer sociopath that like
Yeah.
got his
Well,
rocks off
he's a
from
child
money hard
fucker.
enough.
He's a
Yeah,
self-admitted child fucker. All right. So he's
that
gross.
kid is a fucking creep.
But there's nothing different. But the point is that he's focused entirely on wealth acquisition, and if he had focused instead on drinking, he would have a severe drinking problem. Because because I had once covered. Oh, this is the other thing that really pissed me off, right? Somebody was like, they did this, and I'm like, look, you got to understand my standpoint on addiction. I don't agree with your definition of addiction. I don't. So no, I don't really find this to be problematic. You might because you have a liberal definition. And literally the dismissive was, well, you got to the point where it said it's ableist and I'm out. Okay, if you're fucking out, then shut the fuck up. I don't even need to know you're out. Toodles, go the fuck away. I don't want to talk to you again. Right? They're on a permamute. There are a bunch of people on a permamute. I don't tell. You know you're not on a permamute if I listen to what you fucking say in the future, and that's just not going to happen now because like your viewpoint is so fucking liberal and different from mine. I can't work with you. I can't. So to avoid a conflict under solidarity, like I'm just out. I'm just not going to talk to you. You do your thing, I'll do mine. Solidarity. That's a perfectly rational definition. That's the mature way to handle it. Instead of being like fuck off loser or whatever. Like I just said here, and I feel kind of bad for it, but not really, right? So somebody else jumps in, like, actually, the joke is horrible to be honest, because I'm an alcoholic, and like I got bad news. So am I. I've got the suicide attempts under my belt to prove it from drinking, from fucking cutting and shit. But the
Like
point is, I got sober. I, I can find things laughable in it, and
yes,
with the epistemology conflict, nobody's wrong and nobody's right because you're
yes,
now talking about shades of opinion and experience, and it's utterly worthless. This isn't
like
the same as like Candace Owens being like, actually, there's no black racism, because it's not at all the same thing. You're blaming the problem on a moral failing on yourself. I disagree. I don't think you have a moral failing. I don't think I have a moral failing for having my alcohol problem. I think that we have internalized the behavior of capitalism, and the way we express that is not in a way that ends up being healthy for our physical being.
yeah.
So when you come to that conflict, you're just going to disagree. I'm just going to disagree. So, and you can see the tweet. I'm like, look, this is just becoming the same fight I've had with Jewish supremacists. This is the same fight I had with the disabled community in perpetually saying that disabled people can't do anything but tweet, so tweeting is activism, which is the most ridiculous thing I've fucking heard because it's dehumanizing as fuck that we're typing robots and nothing better can come from our existence than being fucking mouthy and annoying on Twitter, right? That we don't have value. I'm not doing this anymore. I'll do that with those people because they're causing actual harm. This is a fight between one person I think is well-meaning, but I just can't agree with because they're a lib, and another one who is a good comrade, and I don't really want to fucking offend by dropping that bomb. But the ultimate line is like this is a fight between standpoint epistemologies. This is a fight that can go nowhere. Nobody can be wrong and nobody can be right. So there's no point in me withdrawing that joke. Your job is to then just mute it. Or fucking, if you really feel that I'm so now egregious, fucking get rid of me. I'm a
Do you
big
think?
boy. You think
Do
you're
you
the
think?
first person to hate me? Don't worry. You are in
Do you
good
think?
company.
Do you think those two gears? Do you think those two gears, where nobody can be wrong and nobody can be right, just grinding against each other and coming to a complete halt? Do you think that's like a desirable end point for discourse under liberal democracy, like to cook up in some fucking basement room somewhere, sitting around rubbing our hands together, like yes,
It
like I mean, like,
it is.
it seems like that all of this type of like, okay, there's a right and a wrong way to talk about this. Like, we got somewhere on a few things doing that. But more often than not now, don't you just see discussions just grind to a halt? Just
Yeah,
produce nothing.
you're right. You're dead ass right because the goal isn't to destroy the left and convert them to conservatives. The point is to put so many fucking uninsurmountable fucking wedges on opinions. Because
Yeah, we'll
really,
do it. We'll
really,
destroy ourselves. We'll do it. We'll
yeah,
sit around and destroy ourselves with trying to be right about this shit. Try to be exactly right because why not? We're free in our minds to
right,
like, to understand and shit. We're not like, lashing ourselves because we, you know, uh looked at the wrong television or whatever. Like we're not, in a culture war really. So we're free to like figure stuff out and not be stupid. So why can't we get it exactly right? Like that shit, man.
yeah.
We did some stuff, but we can't do all the stuff though.
Yeah. And to address chat yet again, number one, I thought that's what you were talking about, but I'm so fucking tired. I'm like, what's the meaning there? So I apologize for being just a complete dumbass piece of shit. Interstates do rock. Interstates 2021, all down with it. And as far as the hating Sons of Trier Club, yeah, I got bad news. A lot of people fucking hate us.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
you
bad.
know, it's whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm more happy to be hated and address these problems the way they need addressed. Yeah, it is what it is. If you ever grow to hate me, it is what it is. I'm not, again, I've had enough people grow to hate me. I burn a lot of bridges. It's the nature of my existence. You
Well, we're
know,
not. I mean, okay, I was gonna do one of the set a guy who was gonna do a lot of shit, but uh Dan said, "Come on, mine is live," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. Oh, damn.
yeah, you were all
Oh,
scared as shit.
I'm gonna say a slur." Well, no, and,
I'm a white man
actually,
on a chat. I can't help myself. Boop.
it's good to do this
Yeah.
and tweet a lot of shit and not delete your tweets and just say whatever on a live stream. Actually, it's good to do this
You know what
because
I regret?
a lot of times people get pissed off and they're fucking right.
You know what I
But
regret? I regret removing the offensive Coke bottles.
wh-
That's the one thing I regret. If I were to be honest with you, the thing I regret about Twitter is not the fights I have had. It's removing the offensive Coke bottles because I had this evidence a fucking while ago, man. So I'm sorry, chat. This is really personal shit. I deleted a bunch
yeah,
of tweets of these offensive Coke bottles that in March of this year or whatever was the fucking, oh my god, how dare he? Why would you ever do this? And it comes to fucking Pride Month and it's like, oh my god, look at the horrible things. Yeah, I fucking
yeah,
know. I already have them. Like
yeah.
I
There was an
tried,
account.
and you people said I was a fucking cocksucking piece of shit MAGA fuckface.
There was
So
an account
spare
that
me your
was
bullshit.
literally it was literally a Coke bottles account and it had
Yeah,
like a banner and shit. Shout out to whoever did that. You knew the right time to do that. Shout out to you.
yeah.
But there was literally one that was just that and it was like the lesbians one. It was like not
No.
it
Show
wasn't
how horrible it can be, because that is the
yeah,
filthiest fucking thing.
it wasn't on the level that we broke that thing
Yeah,
in spring where it was like really that there are ways around how it tries to stop you from putting really terrible things in there
yeah.
and adjectives are involved but look it doesn't
I'm. I
it
swear to
doesn't matter.
God. I swear to God, in 10 years, when my daughter graduates and she would not have to see that horrible thing, if Coke will still let me do it, I am absolutely buying one with a K slur on it.
Yeah.
And I'm taking my picture with it, and that's going the fuck up on Hell site or whatever future Hell site is. To just be like, look, Coke, I'm Jewish and I can buy this from your company. And I'm gonna watch the hate pour in from all these sanctimonious fucking liberals and their fucking fake piety. High rises are in danger because of what happened in Miami. To be honest, they're just full of it. Um, maybe. New Orleans has a different problem being 5 feet underwater next to the ocean. So we one bad day.
I wonder if they got
One
that
bad
fucking
day.
I wonder if they got that fucking limestone as bad down there.
I don't.
Because we
Eh,
did used to have family in Florida, and the sinkholes is real shit.
yes, they are.
Like it's weird to see because like you can tell that the ground is just a little threatening in some places, but there's other places that just opened up down to limestone bedrock, just like
Yeah,
it just gave the fuck up.
it does now. The the salt water and the limestone, that's going to be fucking dangerous. It's another ticking time bomb.
That's
I
wild.
don't think
I
they're
didn't
wrong. I think they
I didn't
won't
know
do
you could
anything about it. Is the real
I didn't know
problem.
you could get it right on that shit. That's fucking wild. All the shit that I saw in Florida was like residential shit.
Yeah.
Like somebody's small structure was in the wrong place.
It's how much seawater is getting into that limestone to cause the chemical reaction to decay the limestone, and how much it decays. It's one of those geological things that my expertise just fucking craps out on.
That makes sense though. It's still got like semi-organic shit in there, right?
You know what, chat? Your gut instinct wasn't wrong. It's the specific process. It's limestone erosion caused by coastal erosion because the ocean is taking back its own because we're melting the Arctic. It's a whole fucking set of systems that are fucking up. You know, where we choose to intervene, the systems before it in the chain that cause problems will continue to cause problems. But it's almost a fucking feedback loop that's almost insurmountable without just a fucking ice age. So
You know,
brace for the cold.
it just makes me feel like the world's most insensitive edgelord
Homeowners.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know by now I have, you know, an investment in there being a future for the planet, for the
Yeah.
country. All my shit is here.
Yeah.
And I think about this type of shit all the time, and I feel like even though it is the most edgelord anti-woke shit ever to say, I feel like
Oh no.
it's deafening me to standpoint shit. It's
Yeah.
deafening me to hang on, let's stop this. Like that wasn't really my intent. Like I was just as much of a liberal as anybody else under Obama, you know,
Yeah.
just relentlessly defending this shit that, you know, I eventually wore myself completely out on, but it's it's happening now. It's like it's gonna be 3 more years of Biden Harris.
Yeah.
And then after that, God knows what type of shit is gonna happen. And I think that we have to assume that everybody is in good faith and that they don't want to be insensitive to anybody. But they are going to talk about really gross shit sometimes now.
Yeah.
Because in the background of all of it is a fucking clock ticking away while big lava swirls open up in the ocean. And shit. Okay, like that's a fake video as far as I'm concerned. I just don't even like, okay, I have an investment in the future of this planet. I have an investment in the future of this country. All my shit is here. Okay. I can't sit there and watch a fucking video of a goddamn Cthulhu lava hole open up in the fucking ocean and still be like, I got to be careful about my metaphors. Cause no, I don't really. And I hope that
You
I
do in a
hope
sense. It has to make sense.
right. But
You know.
I hope I don't hurt anybody like for that reason. But my God, like shit is big shit is popping off, man.
Yeah.
Like big
You're
shit is popping off and we're all still going to work.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we can do. Hold on, chat. See, I did not know that about Louisiana architecture. I honest to God, I hope that's enough for their infrastructure because we're not going to repair it. That's the other implication to it is always that we don't repair our shit. Americans are wasteful. We would expect to just build it over. Like, and I hope that's the case because I guarantee that Louisiana is not going to spend a fucking dime repairing any of that. So I hope that shit is 1,000 year Reich. That's the only 1,000 year Reich I hope for is those buildings standing up.
It's the same as here. Like there are nice people there, but you can't root for the government any more than you can root for the government here. Like it's the shit John was talking about the other night. They've built this incredibly decent power grid compared to a lot of other places in the country, despite being, you know, pretty right wing most of the time down
Yeah,
here. But now their move is to just go ahead and privatize and start selling it off. Like,
and destroy
okay,
it.
like
Yeah,
yeah, like like you guys did a great job, but you were just building an asset to liquidate. Oh, okay, cool. All right. You know, like it's just gonna keep happening.
Yeah. No, it's fucked up. But yeah, as far as the epistemology shit goes, like I said, what that entire Twitter fight boils down to is ultimately a conflict of two separate opinions on the same subject. I say, oh, it's cruel to compare capitalism to alcoholism because that's a health issue and not. That's the criticism I received. And I
I mean, it's a straight up disease, but like a lot of shit, I would say
there's
is
a
that
lot
other
of fucking
people would
health
not
issues.
agree with me.
There's a lot of fucking health issues you can compare capitalism to and be accurate. You can compare capitalism to fucking COVID, in that COVID is almost the fucking viralized form of capitalism, picking and choosing who
Yeah.
lives and dies.
Yeah.
Wind turbines when a hurricane comes by. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Yeah, that's probably the goal because they know the hurricane damage is going to fucking absolutely wreck Louisiana, so you may as well make money off the hurricane.
If Trump had had that idea, he would have loved wind energy.
He could not have possibly had that idea. He wanted to nuke them.
But no, if somebody told him that, if somebody was like, "Yo, we got to build them motherfuckers in a hurricane," he would be like, "We're working on a hurricane machine."
It'll be cool. It'll be a hurricane machine. It'll be so good. It'll be our big, beautiful hurricane wind machine.
We're gonna fire it right at the wind turbines.
Yeah, we'll fire the
Shit would
hurricane
be.
at the wind turbines because we've
But
got
that
the
was back.
Jews to give us their weather laser.
That was back when shit happened, and like I'm saying, like it was way easier to like spin our wheels and like go deep on like what language we were using and like what kind of metaphors we tracked in or
Yeah,
trafficked in. It was way easier to do that during that shit while we were just waiting to see how the next midterm came out or whatever. But
right.
this is the fucking Biden times. And like like these guys, man, these guys aren't going to stop changing language. There's guys out there on Twitter that are making a lot of money to go around and just like seem critical of the administration, but basically just keep like using that language. Like when you take surveys now about healthcare, it always says affordable in front of healthcare. You never
Yeah.
see the word healthcare without affordable in front of it.
Sorry.
They're gonna grind all of this into our brains for
Yeah,
3 years, okay?
yeah.
And don't think uh, I don't want I want to be able to say some foul shit and have people get pissed off about it, and then maybe we get somewhere, or maybe maybe people hear us talking about capitalism and alcoholism. Shit, good. There's a
Yeah.
lot of capitalism around. There's a lot of alcoholism around. It's not doing anybody any good. So it's not bad to talk about. But I
Yeah.
think that's it. I think people have reached such a point of finality with all of it that it is traumatizing for them to talk about. And I greatly regret that. But again, like, that's all you're going to get. You're not going to get a swing back from that state of society. Like, that in and of itself is a fucking warning flag. And you're not going to get, like, time to rebuild a society that accomplishes liberalism standpoint theory where everybody is treated. You're not going to get a time to build that society.
You
So
can't. We live in that society. That's the problem. We live in the monadist fucking my knowledge is uber alles society. So my opinion is informed by it. Their opinion is informed by it. That's why I said there's no right or wrong here. Because like if I were to be very technical on the counter critique, like number one, capitalism is a health issue. So
yeah,
I've compared a health issue to a health issue. It's the analogy holds
absolutely,
around for me.
absolutely.
Second off,
There's a
alcoholism
guy
causes the
there.
alcoholic to be destructive in their personal lives, as based on my own fucking evidence of being an alcoholic and being destructive in my own personal life. Capitalism is destructive in everybody's personal life. So
There's a guy at
technically
my
speaking,
job
hold
that
on,
used to shoot up.
hold on, dude.
There's a guy at my job that used to
God
shoot up
damn it.
that plays crypto now.
God damn it.
Like that's
Yeah.
it, right? Like he
Well,
used to shoot up, now he plays crypto.
yeah. So, all right, now I gotta start fucking over, man. Why you do this to me? You do this to me. Why?
Cause he's perfect. Cause you need that guy. Cram him in there.
I don't need that guy in there. Again, this is an epistemology fight. That's not my experience. God damn it. So, like, if I were to break down this critique, Jeff loving our fucking baby fighting. I love it. right? So if I break down the critique, the comparison that capitalism is the cause of and solution to all of our fucking problems, just like alcoholism is to the alcoholic, right? Number
Yes,
one,
yes.
I'm not critiquing negatively the alcoholic. Well, you may not want to hear that, but that's like the fucking fact. If you're an alcoholic, you're taking an active decision to fucking blow through your life.
Yeah.
The thing is, too, if you look at the opinion that the alcoholic is a passive subject in their own existence, guess what you've fucking done? You've done an ableism because you've dehumanized them. They are a passenger in their own life instead of somebody who's actively choosing to pick up that drink instead of
What
being
what if I'm a
being
guy
sober. Damn it!
what if I'm a guy that's born in a rainforest somewhere and I just chew coca leaves all the time for my whole life and I'm
Yeah,
a great hunter and I get to swim and play whenever I want to and I just live a great life just completely blasted on fucking raw coca leaves for my whole life. Am I an asshole? Am I some
yeah,
kind of prick? Like no. Like
yeah. But you are making an active choice. You are an active participant in the behavior. Fucking and honestly, like that you get that opinion if you've never been to AA or haven't read the AA literature. Because AA will
yeah, that
tell
stuff
you
is
you're
rough,
you're
dude.
no AA like AA is honestly fucking good for alcoholics who want to be sober. The
Yeah, it
problem is,
works.
if you want to be sick from that illness, you're gonna be fucking sick from that illness. There's no stopping you, and it's not necessarily right to try to stop you. You can only do so much, and you can say no to enabling the behavior, but you can't make somebody choose sobriety because this is an issue of consumption. This isn't, you know, look, you're dying of fucking AIDS, you're dying of fucking cancer, you need to take your chemo, you need to take your fucking AIDS medicine. I forget the name, right? This isn't something like you're just not caring for yourself and you need to do it. I can't make you do it because you are an active participant in the consumption of the alcoholic beverage. You literally have to pick up the fucking can and pour it down your throat. Nobody is doing it for you. And the reason you're making that decision is because capitalism has taught you to fucking consume. So when you have a problem, the solution in capitalism is to fucking consume. Buy a new video game, buy a new car, buy a new house, buy a new fucking business, buy a fucking beer.
Yeah.
So your problem was not originated in you. It is you are just a primate reciprocating fucking behavior. But the end result of that is still that you are making an active decision. You are not a passive participant in your own existence. What do you have a problem with that, chat?
I mean
I have
I
to
gotta
choose to put
say
the beer down in my fucking gullet, ultimately. But I
since I
learned
started
that
turning the
behavior.
blame since I started turning the blame on the big boys every time, I've been happier.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. I've been a lot happier since I've been walking around at work just
Uh
thinking,
huh.
the people that own this motherfucker could fix all this shit anytime, but they don't instead of blaming my coworkers and judging them and shit. I've been a lot happier. I've been a lot happier since I put capitalism at the top of the
Yeah.
fucking tree where it goddamn belongs.
Right. Yeah. Because when you have a problem, but you still have to go buy the oil, you are still caught in a loop of consumption. Again, your problem is a consumption problem. You have to go buy these things on the market. You didn't make your own tools, I guarantee it. You didn't make your own tools. You didn't build your own car. You had to consume the car. The car has a minor problem. You need to fill it up. You fill it up with gas because you need to consume. Uh huh. You make the choice. Keep that in mind. Remember your framing, chat. Remember your framing because you are an active participant. I want to see if you actually think you. I want to see if you think you have a problem with my statement or if you have a problem with it. Responsibility is a major thing in the states. Yes, that's vaguer than I think you mean to declare it,
Well,
though.
it's becoming somebody's kid or grandkid of somebody who was like responsible at all ever. It's becoming just their kid or grandkid, just like trying to pretend that they're
Correct.
still that they still give a shit. And it like the further you turn that knob up,
Yeah.
the less that there actually is underneath the surface. Like most shit here now is starting to fall apart. Like it's they're really loud about covering for it. Like this building collapse is barely, I mean, you saw how quick the building collapse came and went as an article of discussion in the mainstream media. And that again, it's the most generic fucking podcast or comment for me to make. But god damn it, fucking that building fucking fell over and it was gone. Like
Yeah,
we're sitting here talking about it now, but you know, and fucking 4 or 5 of us here, I mean, that's, you know, that's fucked up, man. Shit is flying off the rails like that
it,
everywhere.
Chad, it is. That's just it. You have to make that decision to be sober. What what you have in the American context is libertarianism. You are isolated. You are not actually born alone. You are not born devoid of a society. But the indoctrination in our society is that you are alone. Inasmuch, you have to then make that choice. You have to assert yourself as a monad because we don't have the social systems necessary to intervene in that in a way that is dignified.
Like
Yeah,
they talked
sometimes it
about,
can be better to be alone, but that's not the human being is not alone even when it thinks it's alone. There are 7 billion motherfucking people on this planet. You are alone only by a very, very specific set of choices for a very specific set of time. You may die alone. You are not born alone. There is a whole society. There are thousands of years of people that bring you to you. But we live in a society that wants to isolate people as much as humanly possible. Our society's by design is to make you be alone so that our ruling class can be together. So, unfortunately, with the addict, if you are an addict and you are in a wealthy situation, your addiction experience is very different from what I went through. I
yeah,
wasn't in a wealthy situation. You know, if I'm going to be real fucking emotional, I hate doing this shit. I hate fucking epistemologies. I hate standpoint epistemologies, excuse me. I always conflate these terms. I hate standpoint epistemology. But if you're in my experience, when you call your mother begging for help, she tells you I'm done with your fucking bullshit and hangs up. That's what you get. So yes, society has created a situation where you are alone. Society doesn't have to fucking do that. So yeah, I'm not really like that's why I'm not eager to fight with these other people because their experience must have been different than mine. My joke works for my context. It does not work for their context. That's just the way it
yeah.
is. When you boil that
Like
whole thing I'm pissed off about right now. But
it's it like when I look back at the shit I done, like if I don't laugh about it, I'm gonna get really fucking depressed about it.
yeah,
And that's just me. But
I
like, do you think we're do you think we're soft
you
great manning it a little bit? Do you think we're
no.
soft like being like
No,
I
you're
made it
combating
or
liberalism.
whatever?
You're combating liberalism's intrusion into your brain. You're not fucking great. There's nothing great about me. Chat
Yeah.
can verify. You've just heard me for over an hour. You fucking know there's nothing great about me. I'm
Yep,
just a
we are
dude.
normal as they come.
Yes, I'm just a fucking weirdo who does metaphysics all the fucking time. But there's nothing great about me. Don't get the illusion. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
we do normal
you two
shit.
are normal. I'm not. Don't lump me in with you normies. I'm weird.
We
I
do
wish I
normal
were
shit.
normal.
We do normal shit all day until we
Yeah.
decide to do this instead of sleep.
It's that's it. That's what we do, man. We just do normal guy shit like bombard each other with Facebook fucking rants. But that's what I'm saying. You, the alcoholic is going to have a subjective individualized experience because they're going to come into alcoholism. Again, just like capitalism, your experience under capitalism will vary based on your fucking inputs. Well,
Yeah.
you're normal enough for me. Like I like having you around.
Yep.
I got you followers. If you're who I think you are, Nitrous Power, I got you followers because I like you. Getting really close to having an interstate fetish. Nice, do it. Rock it. Fucking run with it. That's harmless. Rock that interstate fetish. Um, but that's what I want to get down to. And I actually, I like I said, I really like one of the other people involved in that. So I'm just not interested in continuing because again, the epistemologies are too great, and we're just going to be bogged down in a trauma fight. I'm really uninterested in a trauma fight because that's what liberalism wants me to do. What they call
Well,
the victimhood Olympics is trying to outweigh in a moral position based on your fucking trauma. I have two choices in front of me. I can accept the liberal proposition and engage in that fucking frankly dehumanizing and degrading behavior and drag somebody else into it, right? Well, they're doing the exact same thing to me. And I like them. I think they're a good comrade. I think their intentions are very good. I have really no interest in doing that to that person. Or
You
I
can,
can take
I
the
think you can
social
see
standpoint.
like, I think you can see like some of the really negative, like, okay, it's what I can't even tell you how many months. Okay, is it only 6 months into Biden? 7 months?
Hey, man, keep talking.
This thing where we're supposed to settle in and like kind of start picking each other apart like this and maybe figure out how to get reorganized before we like have some other move from the left or whatever. This thing where we are picking each other apart like this, like, is it really intensified this much after only 7 months of Biden? Because, okay, just as off the top of my head, you got the thing where they were bandying that stupid fucking bicycle elevator around everywhere, and that was like an ableism type thing. Like, that was, a bunch of discourse. They did the Can't Get Pride one, like, absorbed like God knows how much eyeballs and how much brain energy. And like that one, somebody was being snarky about it, like, how many thousands of kids got traumatized. Why aren't we hearing about this? Like, it it it's really intensified to a huge level now. And I'm not saying that somebody's saying, hey, I had some really bad experiences with alcohol. Don't talk about that shit. I'm not saying that's a new phenomenon, but the cycle of us like meeting people that were completely economically and you know administratively on board with the idea of this, no more fucking billionaire murder capitalism shit, like immediately we cross some kind of, it just immediately, like, in this period of time we cross some kind of line where it's like, okay, now we're gonna have to like have a brief standpoint shootout. Ugh. Mm.
All right.
Nobody smells a rat here. Nobody's like, oh shit. They cast like charm on us. Now our
Okay.
guys are fighting our guys. Oh, I need a fucking I'm thinking of a Final Fantasy item, but it's not charm in that game. It's something else. But you see what I'm saying? I'm not. Oh man,
You
I
fucking
feel like.
you fucking go off whenever I say fill the hair.
Yeah, you
I don't
see
know where
exactly
the
what I'm
fuck
saying
you're
though.
at right now, man.
I feel like, to sum up, I feel like that in a very short period of time, since we've been supposed to settle in and coalesce as some kind of unified left, the intensity of the standpoint epistemology stuff, and I'm sure that a lot of people that, are on this tip would immediately even question that term. But to me, that's just another layer of it, okay?
Oh, they
I,
fucking
I
love it, dude. Don't. If you're wrapped in the bullshit of liberalism, you love standpoint epistemology because it's what validates your exist. It's the only thing validating your existence. You can reduce it almost to "I think, therefore I am." Like
I would
that's the
assume
premise.
by now, since that seems to be the case, that there's a whole entire thread on the dialogue tree that leads to
Somewhere.
how this is actually not standpoint epistemology. I would assume that like that has been added to the dialogue tree of liberalism at this point.
Oh no.
And
You no no no
but
no no
people,
no no. No, I gotta push back there. Standpoint epistemology is the critical function of liberalism because it validates the monadist experience against the collective.
there you
It
go. Okay, that's how
it
you break
has
it
to.
into smaller chunks. That's how you keep it in smaller chunks, yes?
Yeah, you have to keep them atomized as much as humanly possible, and the way to do that
Yeah.
is standpoint epistemology because the subjective experiences of a rich black person, a poor black person, and a middle class black person are all uniquely different.
Man, this black dude, when we were working construction when I was a teenager, he had a fucking mansion built down here on the side of a mountain. And we were putting fucking, stucco on it. Uh, and he was like a good version of the villain from Breaking Bad. he was
Yeah.
like he was like he had some type of restaurant franchise or whatever, and like didn't smuggle a bunch of meth, and just like totally was against adversity his whole life, and like totally beat everybody he faced, and like now he's gonna live on the side of this fucking mountain. And we got the motherfucker done, okay? And then as we drove away, I remember looking at this motherfucker who had this giant fucking window put like on the mountainside view or whatever. I remember looking back up from down the road as like, 17, 18, I was working this job, and seeing this motherfucker staring out at his view and just thinking, he's done now. he's gonna, as soon as I can't see him anymore, he's gonna blow his fucking brains out. And he would hang around the site all the time, so I kind of got to know him, you know. And
Yeah.
I'm sure he didn't really kill himself, but like, mm, like to go through all that and then be just as unhappy as any other millionaire or billionaire, like,
Well, yeah.
who could understand that? Who but he could understand that? Like the ultimate point of individuality, right? As you say, the ultimate libertarian, like cut off from everything. It is the standpoint epistemology. It is only I now know, right?
Yeah.
Like that's it, right?
That's it. Chat, as far as that goes, I would push back. I don't think there's any specific industry, but rather the notion of industry that capitalism made things better in. I have a real communist critique of capitalism, believe it or not, deep down. I know I've been hypercritical of capitalism because on most things I'm going to be by default. I'm suspicious of liberal narratives, all of them, unilaterally suspicious of them. However, I would be remiss not to compliment capitalism where it is due. Number one, nobody but capitalists could kill the monarch. Number two, nobody but capitalists could stick a knife down in God's back. Number three, nobody but capitalism could bring us the factory floor and give us the means by which scarcity could be destroyed in a very tangible sense for an awful lot of things. Number four, capitalism, for better or worse, is our introduction to mass democracy in the modern era. Those are all very good things. We need to go beyond it because they didn't do good enough. But the substantive scope of it, to quote Marx, we can churn out in years or weeks what it took ancient civilizations to churn out in centuries in terms
Yeah.
of great works. Every high rise that can house so many, many people is an accomplishment of capitalism that could not be done beforehand. We socialists have the burden of figuring out where they've gone wrong and going beyond those. Social democracy, it's a part of socialism. So again, yes, my love. Yeah, all right. I gotta get running. I gotta help my wife with a health thing. Thank you for hearing me out tonight. It has been wonderful hanging out with you. Um, but I gotta get running here. I love you all. Don't die. Be safe.
Yeah, we're gonna dip out. That was great.
Yeah, it was real fun. All right. Peace. I thought so. I thought it was you, OJ. I thought so. Yeah. Shout out to Orange Juice TN. Later, fam. Be safe. Don't die.